So can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, let us start. Welcome to Vision India Forum, sir. Vision India at 75 Amrit Mahotsav series, 75 years of India's independence. You have been a pillar of success behind the motivated team that has worked with us over the last 15 months to document repositories of subjects on subjects of varied importance. Today is yet another day wherein Dr. General V.K. Singh has spared us time on a national, it's like a national mission that we are on to together for the last 2 years almost. And today the issue that we're going to be touching upon is something which is absolutely close to him, close to the country, and close to the world. Probably this is one special occasion wherein we will touch upon the world order. Dr. General V.K. Singh has been involved in Yemen crisis along with Admiral Robin Dhawan a few years back under the auspicious and great guidance of Dr. Sushma Swaraj, former Minister of External Affairs, when he was himself MOS External Affairs. Today, he is somebody who's created with the successful evacuation of the students from Poland. Ukraine crisis, something which has shaken the world and which continues to shake the world left, right, and center. And probably there is much more to come, and there is much more to know about the entire thing. Who better than Dr. General V.K. Singh to speak about the entire Ukraine crisis, along with the Russian intervention and the reason why this has occurred. What are the parameters and reasons for such a crisis to have come to the, come to fore, and then what is the future? And obviously Operation Ganga, something which he handled along with his colleagues in other countries, Dr. Hardeep Singh Puri, Jyotiraditya Scindia, and Dr. S. Jaishankar. So Dr. General V.K. Singh ji, Minister of State, Road Transport and Highways and Civil Aviation, is going to touch upon the Operation Ganga along with the world order, which has got absolutely impacted. And we can see the impacts, the ramifications wide and clear. But the reverberations are bound to increase, as they say. Dr. General V.K. Singh, over to you. Operation Ganga, Poland, Ukraine crisis, and world order.
Amit, the connectivity or the jointness between Ukraine and Russia has been very deep for a very long time. In fact, it was during Lenin's time that much of what is Ukraine today came into being, with areas of Crimea, areas of Donbass, etc., being merged to form Ukraine. And Ukraine was always seen by Russia as something which is its very close area of interest and sphere. If you recall, in the erstwhile Soviet Union, large number of very important arms industries were in Ukraine as compared to all other areas of then Soviet Union, including it had nuclear plants, which were not there in any other area of Soviet Union except Russia.
Soviet allies.
So when Soviet Union went out and Russia came in, Russia always felt that Ukraine is its main area through which all invasions have come historically. And it was not going to loosen its interest in Ukraine. This continued till, I think, the present President Zelensky came in, and slowly things started becoming different. I don't know if it is true, but they say that most of the advisors of President Zelensky have lived in the US for 15 to 20 years. They were in the entertainment industry. And somehow, I think there has been, although the Cold War had stopped, but efforts probably have been on to wean away Ukraine, which was considered as the front line or the first line of defense, or the main area of interest by Russia. And you find that in recent years, there was more and more involvement in various fields from the US and some of the European countries. This is what ultimately resulted in a clash of interests, and with Russia saying that do not get into Ukraine as per the various agreements that have already taken place earlier. Where we are concerned, our problem has been that large number of our students go for medical education. They go to China, they go to Ukraine, most of these countries, they also go to Russia. So they were about 22,000 students in Ukraine. And as the situation was going slightly, one can say, onto a area where things can result in a war, necessary advisories were issued by MEA to the students. However, and this has been my experience in all the evacuations that I have done, our people only move at the last minute when the shells are falling around them or the bullets are flying around them. Very few people evacuated themselves. I'm quite sure anybody who says today that, oh, well, the aircraft tickets had become costly. Well, you could have taken a train to Lviv or to, and from there, you could have taken a bus or something and come to either Germany or to Poland or to Romania or to Hungary, any one of these neighboring countries, from where more flights you would have got. But bulk of the students did not move. They kept waiting, which was something which was creating a major problem because the war had broken out. There was shelling, there were bullets flying. And in this situation, I would like to place on record the great amount of effort done by our Honorable Prime Minister. He spoke to the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin. He also spoke to President Zelensky of Ukraine to see as to how corridors or timings can be given to us to take out our students and to assist us in whatever way was possible. And it is to his credit that areas of Kharkiv and Sumy, where our students were, and they were well east of Kiev, there, whatever shelling was taking place or other things, that was not on the university in which our students were studying. The operation, because we had to get them from far eastern part of Ukraine towards the western part, you couldn't go to Russia. It was not possible because the troop movement was taking place. It was very difficult to arrange evacuation from that side. And therefore, it was decided that we should evacuate them from the friendly countries who were neighboring Ukraine, which was starting from the north, Poland, then Romania, then Hungary, then you had Slovakia, Moldova. All these countries were taken into account, and people were, ministers were dispatched to these countries to organize things in a manner in which we could evacuate our people. Along with this, flight schedules were put down into place. And I must also say that the MEA did a great job, both at the highest level as well as on the ground. You must understand, embassies have very small staff. When a crisis like this comes up, you require to boost this number. So to get people from all over and push them into the countries from which we were to evacuate them, as well as to boost up the strength in Ukraine, which already was a war zone by then, was a very, very, very difficult task. And full compliments to the MEA and to our External Affairs Minister for ensuring that he was able to pick up people from all over, from the headquarters, and send them out to these areas so that they could assist. In addition, there are various business houses who are working in that part of the world. You have Lakshmi Mittal, you have many others who are doing business into that area. They were all contacted to assist in the evacuation process in terms of whatever they could do. Somebody provided buses, somebody tried to arrange food. We had the Swaminarayan organization, which volunteered to come to these countries to ensure that they could boost up our strength in management of the flow of people, to provide a necessary management in managing the large number as to where they were staying, to ensure that they got food, etc., etc. So, if you take the complexity of the operation, it was very complex because you had 5 different countries. Where a person will come, you don't know. You had the embassy, which was pushed out from ultimately from Kiev to Lviv to ensure that things are managed, and they had their hands full to see as to how things are controlled. How do we ensure that our people are able to come out? And coming out was a difficult task, because it is not only just our students. The roads towards these countries were full of Ukrainians who wanted to flee from Ukraine into these countries to take refuge because of shelling and the destruction that was going on. So, for example, if I take Poland, the main crossing out there, where you have a beautiful road coming, and that road ultimately leads to Germany, maximum number of Ukrainians were coming on that road. Now, just imagine a road on which you can't get off the road because of snow conditions, a road on which there is snow. There was a 25-kilometer jam of vehicles. People just left their vehicles and were walking. Our students also had to do so. We had our problems because you were getting desperate messages. We were trying to send them blankets. We were trying to send them. Where do you get them? It is a very, very difficult thing. You know, it looks very easy for somebody to say, "Oh, I'm stuck here. I can't. I have to walk and walk and walk. It is very cold." Now, where do you find him in this melee of crowd of vehicles and people, which is almost 25 kilometers long? It is very, very difficult. And there were students who had initiative. They came to other crossings which were less frequented, and they were able to make it in faster time. There were students who took train from Kharkiv. I met this group because they came to Poland. And it is worth listening to this. When I asked them, how did they come? They said, we came in the train from Kharkiv. From the platform, nobody would allow us to get into it because all the seats were full. So we went on the other side of the train. From there, we requested Ukrainians to let us in, and we promised them that we were going to stand and we will not occupy any seat that they were occupying. They came standing. Now, if there is a will to do things, a person can do it. People who just wanted to sit and make videos of their distress were a different lot. We evacuated almost 650 students from Sumy in a train provided by the Ukrainians at RBS. The train came all the way down to Lviv, and then they came all the way up to Poland. So one can say you had a problem of students trickling in. You had a problem of accommodation, because the number of people from Ukraine who were fleeing were also occupying various hotels. in this border town where I went, I think every day I was changing the room because there was no place. You had to make do with what was available. So in all this, all our organizations which helped us, they put up a stellar performance. They ensured that necessary shelter was provided, necessary food was provided, people were marshaled in time to go to the flights. The airlines did a great job, Indian Air Force did a great job, and we also had an added problem because some students had kept pets. Now, when somebody is in distress and the pet is with that person, and you tell them your pet cannot go, you can see the amount of distress that is going to increase. And we had to find a way of ensuring that their pets, whether they were dogs or they were cats or they were rabbits or they were guinea pigs, they ultimately came back to India. It's a it was a great effort on the part of everybody who participated. Now, when we come to the world order, like I said, there has been a certain amount of meddling by the deep state in the US. There are things which are coming out in bits as to how many people were already there from US in Ukraine. I think the entire story will only be made public once the whole thing is over, whenever it gets over. But what certainly has happened is great amount of destruction in Ukraine, great amount of destruction, and great amount of assistance in terms of weapons being provided. How many of them actually get used, one doesn't know. You had the Russian army getting bogged down. They have got conscript army. I think they did not realize what war is. There have been casualties, there have been losses in tanks and aircraft, and including their flagship Moskva in the Black Sea. So a war that I would feel which triggered off in this quest for a world order in which one is supreme and the others are not. The world order is still evolving. I think we will see this evolvement after the war is over, where alignments will take place, various other things will happen. There is a question of the cheap gas and oil that was available to European nations, which has been shut out. It is going to disrupt economies in Europe. I don't think any country wants to put its troops in Ukraine and have the problem of answering to the public out there as to what were they doing in Ukraine. So I would say world order will evolve. It's not yet over. What shape Ukraine would be at the end of this war also is cannot be said with certainty. Would it get dismembered into Ukraine and a Polish Ukraine and a Hungarian Ukraine or a Romanian Ukraine, a Russian Ukraine, or will it remain as Ukraine proper? It's very difficult to predict at this moment. But something, I think, changes will happen and will be seen after this war.
What are the parallels you may draw, General Saab, between the erstwhile similar crisis which was in Yemen with this Poland rescue mission?
See, no two evacuations will ever be same. Conditions will be different. Situation will be different. And Yemen was totally different. South Sudan was totally different. Afghanistan was totally different. Iraq was totally different. All evacuations are different in terms of the type of situation that prevails and the type of conditions that happen out there which make for the difficulties that you will encounter. In Yemen, we had the same problem. People did not move when the situation was going bad and the advices were given. Our estimate from the embassy was about 2,000 people, but ultimately we evacuated almost 5,000 people, Indian origin. There were 2,000 we evacuated who were from 48 different countries. So things are different. We were landing in Yemen on an airfield which had taken a lot of air attacks. It was a difficult airport to land. However, where the Operation Ganga is concerned, we were landing in neighboring countries. Things were better. So the comparisons are, very difficult. Yes, one thing which I can say is in Operation Ganga, people were in lots where they could be contacted. The communications were still on. In Yemen, there was no communication. When we landed in Sana'a to evacuate, it took us effort to get people into to the airport. Airport that has been destroyed. Nothing out there. If small children are there, you can't even get them water. So you had to find ways and means to ensure that you were able to organize people to come there in time, organize for them to be looked after at the airport by creating some organization, and to load them up into the aircrafts and fly them to Djibouti, and then from Djibouti, ferry them back to India. One thing which certainly is there, which has happened after 2014, is the type of confidence that has been given to all our people who go abroad to work, that the government of India will evacuate them or help them if they are in difficulty. And this confidence is there in everybody who goes outside.
Were there any casualties in the Operation Ganga?
Yeah, there were one student who in Kharkiv who ventured out to buy something because their food was finishing, and at the time that shelling took place, and he died. There was another student, Harjot, who was coming from Kiev, fired upon, took 5 bullets, taken back to Kiev. He was operated upon, and we brought him back from Poland, ultimately.
People from other countries, like the human crisis, we had a few Pakistanis who were also, saved.
There were few people from friendly countries who came, and we assisted them in the spirit of friendly neighborly relations. But in Yemen, because of the type of war that was taking place, a lot of countries requested us that can you get our people also out, which included what are termed as advanced countries or developed countries.
What do you see as the future of the crisis in Ukraine? India's economy, it's getting impacted. We can see where the oil is headed. Hardeep Puriji was there also as one of your colleague ministers, who was, I think, sent to Slovakia, I guess, if I'm not wrong. So what do you think?
They went to Hungary.
Hungary, okay.
I think.
And you had your aviation minister, Jyotirtha Scindia.
I think Romania.
And then we also had S. Jayashankar. I think he was another minister.
Kiran Rijiju, who was in Slovakia and Moldova.
What were the experiences of these? We'll be having probably a discussion with them as well. But was there complete coordination happening between all you 4 ministers in that, Serbian territory?
There was a great amount of
Scandinavian
coordination
territory,
right from the time that we left. Right from the time that we left, we were all on the same group on WhatsApp to communicate. And the only thing I can say is I don't think there was much time to communicate except when there was a difficulty, because everybody was so busy in the type of work that they were doing.
Where is it headed now, the Ukraine crisis?
I told you the war is still on. End result will only be known once Russia says, okay, let's call it quits. I don't know. Nobody seems to know as to what exactly will be the end game or the end state where Ukraine is concerned.
Chances of this being escalated into a world war?
I don't think so.
You,
I think the world is not foolish to get into a world war again.
you've been an army general and you've been also there, you've handled this entire issue from the closest quarter as possible. So you were there in the territory. So what we hear from you is that you believe, as the minister, not only as a minister in the government of India, but also as a former army general, and having seen the territory from the closest quarters, you feel that the tensions just purely and solely depend on the whims and fancies of Mr. Vladimir Putin?
I think not only Vladimir Putin, but also everybody who's backing Ukraine also. I said it is not just a war between Ukraine and Russia, which is actually visible war, but the actual war is probably between Russia and the US and its allies.
Do you see any role that China has to play in this? Any role any role you see China playing in this entire?
I don't know. China at the moment is quiet. It is sitting quietly, and it is looking after its own interests.
How has this entire episode impacted the Indo-Russian relationships?
What those interests are, I want to know. No, it is not impacted, because there's an important call coming, so I'll finish off here. Okay.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful occasion listening to you. We look forward to further discussions.